statue, Liberty started shaking her fist, and the eagle will fly, and it's gonna be here. I brought to you courtesy of the red, white, and blue.
It's time for Veterans Issues, the show that brings you information about veterans, military, and their families. Now here's your host, Ken Rollins.
Welcome to Veterans Issues. Ken Rollins here. Today I've got a guest I've been trying to get in touch with for a long time to get him on here. I wanted to hear everybody hear his story. It's a magnificent, horrific story. His name is Jackie Stovall. He's Assistant Police Chief of Heflin, Alabama. And welcome to the show. When we come back, y'all going to help me welcome Jackie Stovall. Stay where you are. Be right back. Welcome back to Veterans Issues. Ken Rollins here. Today we're talking with Jackie Stovall. Most of you know him, and he's the Assistant Police Chief of Heflin. And Jackie's got a great story you need to hear. So welcome to the show, Jackie Stovall.
Nice to meet you.
Good to
be here. I mean,
I've
seen you all the time and talk, but glad to be here.
We've been going like this.
Yep.
We finally hooked up to do it. I've been giving you some time, what I've been doing, time out. Let me just say, December of 2012. Let me back up. We can get into that. We're going to do a lot of that. But are you from here locally?
Yes,
from Oxford
area since I was born. We actually lived in Anniston and moved to where my dad's at now at 6 months, and he's still there today.
Wow. You went to school in Oxford?
Yes, sir.
Right.
Graduated in '85.
Some point in time you entered law enforcement. Where was you, Oxford or where?
Oxford.
Right.
Brian Waits had been on me for a long time to take the test, and I took it, and at 21, the first time I could start carrying a gun, I was policing.
Yeah. That's some interesting things happened to you while you were working in Oxford.
Oh, I loved it. We had a lot of fun too, but in the beginning, it's hard to believe that we actually had a lot of calls. And then normally towards the end there, it gets down to where we don't hardly have anything unless it was something that was domestic or anything. But
car locked out the car. They got a lot of that.
Car accident.
Back way in the day, I had a 911 radio, and I could listen to that. That was one thing about it. In Oxford, Alabama, you got it locked in a car. That was policy. You go get it, unlock that car.
Go get it.
But that led you, at some point then after that, you went on to Heflin.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
We had opened a couple of stores we had, and the chief at that time was Ty Payne, kept wanting me to come up there part-time, full-time, and he went on to finally it just drove at me to go back. I just couldn't stand it no more, so I went back full-time with Heflin in end of 2005, and have just been there ever since.
Okay, we're coming up now. I started lead into 2012. The reason we're talking about this horrific story is everybody's read a little bit of it, and anybody can Google Jackie Stovall, and you'll see parts of your story, and a lot of you see a lot of your story, but not. Well, hopefully today we'll put it all together.
Yes.
When you were on duty that day, or not on duty, or whatever, but you heard the call, shots fired. Is that the way it started or began?
Yes. And usually at the first thing we think of if we hear shots fired. We stop, and it's usually nothing. And really, it said he was chasing a lady with a gun through the trailer park. You usually get there, and that's not true. Maybe it was something else that was going on. So to actually think there really was something going on, it was 50-50 in my mind. We just watched the kids come into Jack's when I was eating breakfast, getting ready for Santa Claus. So it was getting close to Christmas. Everything just didn't seem real. And then all of a sudden, Officer Winslet hollered and said, I just saw the girl in the first car, and she's in the white car, and I saw the man with a gun in the dark colored car coming too. So then we knew it was real. But I don't think it hit home until after she pulled in, and she was screaming, almost run over my leg, and these two people picked her up on the side of the road going to the Falcons game, the playoff game that day. And they just slid in with this man coming. Well, I thought he's gonna go on and we'll chase him. But he just turned like you would in your driveway, just as slow as he could get set. And he was putting the gun up into the window with one hand and driving with the other one just like that, setting it up. And I said, he's fisting a start. And it was the first thing in 24 years of law enforcement. I get chills now still thinking about it, that this is it's happening. And I said, he's gun, shoot. And we pulled our guns and drawn and started shooting. And I mean, you could hear his gun, and it was blowing our hair back. That
This is in
AK-47.
Heflin?
Yes, sir.
Now, then you just brushed over that gun. Was that the AK-47?
Yes, sir.
Everybody's ever heard one of those shots, never forget it.
Man, you could feel the percussion all just coming, hitting you and hitting you and hitting you. And we're sitting here with Glocks, 40 going off. So it was kind of like your eyes closed. Everybody's shooting, glass is flying, bullets is flying, it's blowing in your face. I look over and I see Officer Winslet just standing out, and the bullets are hitting at his feet. I mean, they're missing him by this much. And he hollers that his gun is jammed, and I holler back that your gun's not jammed, you got to change magazine. And it just hit him, changed magazine. Well, finally the gentleman starts pulling off, and he goes down just a little bit down the road and stops. And we're all regrouping, and we're starting to get back ready to chase him, and he's getting out of the car. And I thought he was going to just start shooting us again, but I think he was just trying to reload his magazines at that time and get ready for the second round. So me and Jamie Cofield start chasing then, and I don't know what's happened to Scott. I've called to ask, was he hit or anything? We didn't know. Actually, he had just went back with that family. He wasn't in the chase. Me and Jamie Cofield continued on through the chase, and you could just see every now and then the flashes coming out of the back window. He was shooting, driving down the road.
He shot his back window out?
He shot his back window out, shooting at us. And Jamie backed off. He said he's shooting behind the window. And I think about it now, and I was just up on the wheel saying, I'm gonna get him now. This is it. He's
NASCAR.
going down. Yeah, we're going. And I should have been like this, kind of behind the wheel, ducking. But I wasn't. You wasn't thinking. I was just, this is my job. I'm gonna get him. He's not gonna hurt nobody today. And I've said that I've always prided myself on it. I've never been a big ticket writer. I could probably, in 24 years, I probably haven't had that many tickets wrote. Now DUIs or something is a different story, but as far as that goes, I just enjoy. So this was my day, and I wanted to make sure that we got him. So through all of this, coming down
Highway
78, we come down 431, coming down 9, we hit 431. He's still going all the way towards Oxford, and I start thinking, nobody's called, we can't hear anybody, nobody's called to say we've called the troopers, we've not called the county, we've not called a soul, we're by ourselves still. So when we finally hit 78 going towards Oxford, a car misses him from hitting him right in the side of the door just by inches. And he hit another car which was going towards Oxford, which is the way he turned. So I thought we had him then. Probably a good thing that it didn't disable him there, because had I got shot there, I wouldn't have made it. And that's another reason I say the good Lord let him go on from there, because the ambulances or nobody else would have got to us in time. And nobody would have known it was going on.
Now, where were you
time.
then? You was on
78, 431. 78 and 431. And I start thinking, nobody's called Oxford and nobody's still. So if we had got out there and gotten a shootout, we could have laid there for days till somebody decided to pull over and see what we were doing. So I started calling Oxford, and as I got on there the phone with him, nobody had called them. I'm dialing it at 120 mile an hour, driving with elbows, and this guy's still shooting out the back window. When I get her on the phone, I start telling her, and the dispatcher, that we're having shots fired, AK-47, he's shooting at us now, we're coming into Oxford, do y'all know anything about it? I said, we're passing Sunny Eve right now. And she said no. So we keep talking, and she's putting it out, and by the time that she gets it put out, she says, well, where are you now? And I said, we're at the old Red Horse. I said, he's passing cars on the side of the road, he's just missed a few. She said, okay, thank you, and hung up. And from that time that we hung up, I was probably 3 minutes later, I was laying in the road shot.
Hold it right there. We're going to go to a break. We're going to come back. We're going to pick up where we left off after past the Red Horse and when Jackie was shot. We'll be right back. Get your pen. I'll go give you a number here later. Welcome back to Veterans Issue. We're talking with Jackie Stovall, and when we went to the break, you had just passed the Red Horse on 78, and then you took us to, you got shot. As we see here in the studio, it's just outside the window here at the, I guess that's a ramp off of Leon Smith Parkway down to 78.
Yes.
Would you call it a ramp?
Yes, sir.
All right. You turned into the ramp. Did you do tip maneuver or pit maneuver, they call it?
Yes, sir, pit maneuver.
All right.
And we had passed my uncle. I didn't know it, but my phone was ringing back, and I could see it was him, so I set it in the console. And but I couldn't answer it. I was going on. I was like, I
sure.
can't talk to you today. And we turned, and as he went up, he went towards the left, and then he started coming back. And I said, well, he's not coming back. And then I hit him, and he spun around and went into another car. And as quick as I could get out, I was hoping that he'd be hurt or injured, and we could get in there and get him. And he was done out of the car trying to open doors.
Yeah.
And as he was trying to open that door, I shot twice, and I seen him jump both times, and he starts limping off. Well, I thought he was trying to get into the SUV that was sitting there, and I left my cover. Might have been the wrong thing. Maybe he would have got in the car with the SUV if I hadn't have, I don't know. And as I start running across, I felt it hit my leg. It was real hot, hit me real quick, and I looked down at my knee, and I could see the blood on my knee, and I said, well, he got me, you know, but it didn't hurt, didn't feel nothing. I started to get back up, and I just collapsed. And I looked down at the leg again, and the leg was just gone. I mean, it was laying on the ground. So I took a second look, and I said, well, it's higher up. He's got my artery. I could see it pumping the blood out. And I said, well, this is it. Good Lord, I'm gonna die today. I knew that was it. And really knew that moment, and I started recounting the days. I said, this is Saturday. I said, we got Sunday, Monday, Tuesday. My son and all my family's gonna watch me be buried. And it just hit me that, well, maybe, something's gonna happen. So I grabbed a trailer hitch and pulled myself under a car to lay straight so that if she backed up or got scared, that she wouldn't run over me. And I saw Trooper Lewis, and as I could look over, I could see him. I said, I'm hit, I need help. And a few minutes later, he hollered again. He said, you're hit? And I said, yes, sir, I'm hit, and I'm going out. I said, I'm hurt bad. Well, then I started praying, and I did. I remember exact words I told the Lord. I said, look, don't let this end today. I've got a son still to raise. I said, I've got a grandson that just started, and I've got to help with him. Don't let it end this way. And I blacked out. And when I came to, I remember the trooper hollering and the sirens going. It was like, yeah, I remember where I was at. It's just like he'd passed out. And he was still telling me to stay with him. And I didn't remember any of it, but he's telling me I'm still grabbing the gun, saying I'm gonna shoot that, and I'm gonna get him. And they were still trying to make me be still. At the time, Bill Partridge walks by, Chief Partridge, and I look at him, and he's my neighbor. He lives across the road, and been friends. I started 6 months before Bill, so we've been friends a long time. And I look up to shake his hand, and I say, well, you don't want to do that with all the blood on it, and put it back down. He said, no, just lay still. You need to be still. And but it was good to see somebody that that I knew, and I knew John. I had seen him before, but to know that Bill was there, and I started saying, well, I'm gonna make this thing, because the Lord wouldn't have brought me back to die again. I would have went the first time, I think. So, walking in today was the first time I've ever saw it from this point of view. But my uncle that I said was calling, we run them off the road, he said, on the way, and he was coming this way. He parked and watched all of this from that area, and he could see everything. He didn't know it was me. And so he parked and kept calling, and word finally got out that it was me after I'd done left in the ambulance. But
there was bullets going around Cracker Barrel, Wendy's, all over the area, coming over toward our TV station. It was a horrible. If you was in the war, that's what war is like. I mean, did you do the right thing? You always question yourself. But the thing was, when you said your John Lewis showed up, Alabama State Trooper.
Yes.
You didn't know, but he went into action.
Yes, I can't imagine what he done. We take first aid probably lightly. We do it every year, and we take the same thing and go, but I don't know what he did to save my life. But I said that when I'm done and able, I will learn in case I'm ever in that situation, because I know part of it was the good Lord, because it was so far up they couldn't clip it off or cut it off or anything. He was just holding it. That's all he could do. And his hands would get so tired that there was a nurse there, Tanisha, that he would have to let up while she pushed on his hand where his knuckles were hurting, and then he'd say okay, and then he'd put his hand back and start going again. And if you try to do that for 10 minutes and you watch on a video, you can't really get that time down, but try to do that for 10 minutes. And I finally saw the video, and you can see his back arch down, and then every now and then he'd try to arch it up, and you'd see Tanisha pushing on his hands, and then he'd go back. And he was talking to his wife the next day that he was hurting places that he never knew, and I can only imagine what he did. And
yeah, I talked to him a few weeks ago and asked him same thing I've asked, what was going through your mind? What did you think? He can't really tell you definitive of what was going on. I think God was guiding his hands, like when you go into surgery.
Absolutely.
They guide the doctor's hands, and he kind of feels that way too. He got that extra. I know you've heard of people that lift a car up off of someone, adrenaline thing. I guess John was riding on that, and a little bit of God, Jesus holding on to him.
Yes, sir.
Get you
No
through.
doubt.
That the guy that did all that, he shot his window out. And you was telling me a while ago you think you'd be ducking. I've always said, in the cartoons they show these people doing this in the old cowboy days, and they don't work like that.
No, it don't work like that.
You can't duck you might lower your profile like you was talking about, but you can't sit there knowing where that next round's going to come through the window. To be following a vehicle is shooting backwards over his shoulder like that. No, he's not aiming at anybody, just anybody's back there. And you and Cofield was the one that's back there.
Yes.
But that was a big day around here. But when after you went on to the hospital, so what was the first thing you remember coming back? I mean, you don't remember them catching the guy, taking him out or whatever?
No, sir. I was done in surgery. I remember the ride back. I was alert the whole time in the ambulance, and I could remember sitting there talking to everybody and trying to stay alert and just make sure I was just like, I'm gonna stay awake. I'm gonna stay awake. I'm gonna live. And I can remember turning the siren off, and I know when they do, you're fishing to pull up to the hospital. We got up in there, and they told the girl to stay on top of me because you can't let go. And she rode in with me on the ambulance. I remember going in and sitting down. It was a few minutes later, they said, his wife's here, can she come in? And I told them, please. And when she got in there, she had heard I'd been in an accident and broke my leg, but then she knew when the doctor told her, look, he's been shot, this is what's happening. She just like to passed out with the blood. And they said, I said, this is bad. And she shook her head and said, I know it. And I said, I love you. She said, I love you. And they said, can you get his ring? And they took the ring off, and that was it. Said, we got to go.
You didn't know, at what point did you know they'd got the guy?
I woke up and I saw my wife and A.J. Benefield, the chief, and my buddy. And the first thing I asked my wife, I said, look, where's my mom and daddy? Because my daddy had been having trouble, had his leg amputated, or was having trouble with his leg that got amputated shortly thereafter. But I asked how they were, and she said, fine. And then I looked over at A.J. and said, did we get him? He said, yeah, we got him. I said, did we hurt anybody else? And he said, no, and that was all I wanted to know.
Hold that thought. Instead of going on like we do normally with news you can use, we got more with Jackie when we come back. Got one little announcement, we'll be right back. Get your pen, you're gonna need it. Welcome back to Veterans Issue. We're talking with Jackie Stovall. Before we go back to Jackie, I want to remind you that if you have an automobile that's serviceable out there, we got a widow that's in need of one to get to her doctor's appointments and her grandchildren, we can give you a tax write-off for it. So if you got the book value on it, we'll give you the write-off for it, and you can deduct it on your taxes. So call me on my number, 831-2838, and you're also going to need this number for something else. So, but Jackie, when we talking about it over in the hospital, when you found out they'd got the guy that shot you, I know I first heard about it on Facebook, and we talk a lot, Bill Partridge, Chief Partridge, the Weaver Police, Anderson Police, everybody been on here, we talk about Facebook, social media, how it interweaves with law enforcement. It used to didn't be that fast. You're talking about they had the cell phone there, and you'd give anything to been able to get a hold of that cell phone. But life is instant nowadays. But there was misreports coming out, bad reports. The wrong thing had happened at the incident. There was reports of the perp. You call him a gentleman. I'm gonna call him the perp. And I got other words. We can't rated family. I can't do that. But anyhow, there was misinformation, but there was good information. I ended up catching him. And the information we put out on Facebook gave the information to the police to catch him and took him out of business. Yes. So, a bad guy. Now, that was one of the things I wanted to lead to. The reason I'm staying over to do this last section. This guy, as I understand, you correct me if I'm wrong, he had been in prison for dealing drugs and had been released early, had been deported to Mexico,
Yes, sir.
had come back here illegally. And he had an AK-47. I, for one, don't know how much they cost, but I don't know how you get back here and get your hands on these things. That was one of the first things that took my mind. And he shot his wife, and how many people he killed down there?
3. He shot his 3 brothers, and then he shot his 19-month-old son and was out of bullets, so he started stomping him with a boot. And the child lost his arm, and they took parts of the arm to keep the second arm. So he was able to keep one of the arms, so the child did live. I don't know what's going on after the fact or with the wife, but he had heard that she was pregnant while he was gone. He was gone 10 months, so he knew one of the brothers, and nobody would either own up to it or whatever, so he decided to shoot him.
Let's don't give him too much
No,
credit.
we don't want to give him why. I'm telling you how sorry he was.
Yeah, I know it, but I got something else I want to do. And you didn't know I'm going to do this because I just decided to do it. When this took you out of work, took you off of your ability to make a living, you get a little small income, but you're not on top of the world right now, are we?
No.
That takes you down a whole lot. That even though you get a little workman's comp or whatever, but you're still not back there where you can make those hours to take care of your family.
No, sir.
It's taking a toll on you, isn't it?
Yes, sir. I tell everybody it's about $18,000 a year that I'm losing while I'm on here. And last year, the first year that, the hero thing goes on, and I say the same thing with our vets and others, I stop and think after that first year, the hero thing kind of wears off, and there's no more money coming in, there's no more charities or anything else, and we're really struggling to get by right now. And I always say we'll find a way, and the good Lord's took care of us every time, and I'm waiting again.
We got, I'm going to take this last minute to do something. Folks, I'm in camera 1, Kizzy. This officer put the uniform on just like military does. And when he went out that day, he had no idea that this was going to happen to him. He almost lost his life, but he did lose his ability to earn a living. So I'm going to ask you to take the number, my contract number, and we need some way to get him back to where he was, or as close to it as possible. Whatever your ideas you got, need your help. I don't normally do this, but this is so good. And Jackie, I appreciate you being on the show today, man.
Thank you for having
It took a
me.
long time to get here. And will you come back sometime and update us on how you're doing?
Yes, I will.
I got
And
you on
hopefully I'll be
television.
walking in here then.
There you go. I got you on television saying that, but I do appreciate that. And remember that, and let's help him out. And this week, my salute's going to go to him and for Jackie Stovall.